So hello everyone, my name is Dima. I am a postdoc student in the joint program between the Weizmann Institute and Max Planck. And I will present for you the project that we start this year to deal with about how to take one nitrogen atom from the D-nitrogen gas that we have in our atmosphere and try to insert that inside a chemical compound by using electricity. So the first question that we ask ourselves here, why nitrogen matters? This boring, stable molecule, why it matters? So nitrogen is everywhere. It's 80% of our Earth atmosphere. It's inexpensive, it's abundant, and of course, the most important thing, it's sustainable, very magical word that we need. And then let's imagine together that we have some cage and all our atmosphere gases are inside. So we can see here that this D-nitrogen atom that we have a lot. But the problem that usable nitrogen is rare, very rare in the atmosphere. So we didn't use it. So why we didn't use it? Because first, nitrogen contains a strong NN triple bond, and it's chemically inert under ambient conditions, and also it's required energy-intensive activation. So now I will tell you a few samples of how nitrogen is part of our life and our part of different field, and it's all around us. And then we can understand together how this is important. So, for example, it's part of our life because of the amino acids, such as glycine. It's part of our DNA, like nucleotides, and also it's part of our blood from the hemoglobin as a porphyrins compound. And also in the pharma field, we can find two important examples in the antibiotics and analgesics, such as penicillin and morphine. It's also part of the agriculture, fertilizer, such as fertilizer. The non-example is urea, and the plant growth regulator, such as glyphosate. And also we can find it in the industry, such as polyaniline as a conductive polymers and pyridine as a organic semiconductors. And now, the question, if we back to our science literature, what we found that until now, most of the researchers that deal with the question how to take this nitrogen and do some fixation toward ammonia is based in the non-process that we all know and called Haber-Bosch process. And it's important to say that we produce around 250 million tons of ammonia per year around the world, and 80% of that go to the agriculture, around 18% go to the industry uses, and just 1 to 2% go to pharma study. And what is bother also in this process that it's need a lot of high temperature and a lot of high pressure in order to achieve that, of course, by using catalyst of iron. The next cycle that we have in this research is to take this produced ammonia or any other inactivated N reagents and to move it toward producing CN bond. But the problem that we don't have any direct pathway from the nitrogen toward the CN bond. And from this point, we start to think about the question how we can take this D-nitrogen and do direct incorporation of N atom from D-nitrogen into organic molecules. We don't need any pre-activated nitrogen in this case. This is the benefit of the D-nitrogen. We have high atom economy, and the most important and beautiful thing, that it's inspired by enzymatic nitrogen fixation. So it's immediately remind us the story of the non-enzyme that we have in nature that called the nitrogenase enzyme. And this enzyme took nitrogen, converted to ammonia, and produce also hydrogen as a byproduct by using ATP as an energy source. But what is also important, that if we look to the core enzyme, active enzyme here, we found two important metals that are responsible to this process that related to the metals of iron and molybdenum. And what we try to do in this project is to try to take the information from the biology, from the enzyme story, the nitrogenase, and convert that to our synthetic compound by using molybdenum metal as a first phase. And now, maybe by this pathway, we can complete the gap between these two cycles and make it directly from nitrogen gas. So if we back to the literature, it starts with the two famous labs of Nishibashi and Mazilas, Nicholas Mazilas. What Nishibashi succeed to do in 2015 is to produce the molybdenum nitride complex and producing 63 equivalent of ammonia as a product in catalytic way. Then Nicholas Mazilas succeed to go deeply to the mechanism of this process and produce the N-silicon bond as a product. Then in 2016, the same lab go deeply with this molecule and succeed to produce a nitrogen silicon bond by a different ligand, bidintat ligand. 2020, they calculate this research deeply in order to understand the mechanism. And finally, in 2022, I think this is the point when I read this article, I feel, with a discussion with my advisors, I feel that this is the point that I want to do my research in my postdoc. And what happened in 2022, until now, they succeed to have the molybdenum nitride bond chemically. And what happened here, they succeed for the first time to make it electrochemically in much easier conditions. So from this point, we build our vision of using electrochemistry for the formation of CN bond using N2 directly from the air. And then now, let's imagine that this cage that we talk about is full of diamond, okay? Every D nitrogen gas is a free diamond. The idea is to take this D nitrogen, to interact that with molybdenum catalyst, to produce this molybdenum nitride complex, and then to move to some intermediate complex that will mix with some organic compound, and then to cleavage that in order to produce an amination product. And we will have also in the solution again our catalyst in order to use it again and again. And then we can conclude here that we move from unreactive nitrogen to valuable chemical products. So the solution is to move from locked diamond to some useful jewelry. I hope I will reach this point someday in research, of course. So the first step of the project was to start to synthesize this compound, this catalyst that will do all the work. And we also, of course, based on non-literature, we succeed to produce this molybdenum nitride complex, this bond, and we characterize that by phosphor NMR and by IR, and we got the related results. And then the next step, beside producing it chemically, like here above, we succeed also to produce it electrochemically. And what is important here, that chemically we produce that in 4 hours without starting workup and clean. And what happened electrochemically, it was just after 10 minutes reaction with carbon as a cathode and magnesium as an anode in constant current equal to 5 milliampere, and we have the product. Now the question that maybe bother part of you that it's not clean. It's not important. Why? Because we want to produce that in situ and then to have the amination product in the end, so we don't care about the clean process in this stage. So the next step was to take this unique catalyst and to check the reactivity of it. Why it's important? Because we want to see if we have some positive hope of this project. So we take this catalyst, we mix that with different substrate, as you can see here, acetyl chloride, benzoyl chloride, and NHPI ester. In the first stage, we produce the intermediate that contain this bond between the nitrogen and the carbon, and in the end, we have some cleavage, as you can see, with the benzoyl chloride and an NHPI ester to produce the benzoamide and the phenylacetoamide with the CN, new CN bond that you can see here. So we can say that in this stage of research, we have some initial positive hope that it will reach the point that we want to arrive to it. So we can summarize and say that from our D-nitrogen gas, we produced an yttrium molybdenum bond, continue with the interaction with our organic compound molecule, and then cleavage that to amination product and have again our catalyst. And our future plan, we have a lot, but one of it is to try to develop the electrochemical system much deeply and also to understand the mechanism, catalytic cycle that you see here much deeper. I want to thank my advisors, Dr. Samer Ghanaiman and Professor Beatrice Roldan Kenya from Max Planck, and my amazing group members that are here that helped me a lot to reach this point, and for you and for the organizers. Thank you.